Today on the PIO podcast, we are joined by Rox Cruz, the Public Information Officer for the town of Mooresville, North Carolina. Rox brings a strong background in strategic communication, community engagement, and digital outreach, helping bridge the gap between local government and the people it serves. In a rapidly growing diverse community, Rox plays a key role in ensuring information is clearly and cleanly accessible to the public. We're going to talk about her approach to modern public communications, her ability to build trust, and what it takes to connect with a ever-evolving audience. Rox, welcome to the show.
Hi, it's so nice to be here, and thank you for having me.
You know, I came across your name, and it was funny. So when I do research, I came across your name, and it was like, wow, you've done a lot. You've got a really great career.
I have
And
a
I
very
was like,
strange and diverse background, yes.
you know what? It's interesting. So it's really cool. And I'm like, well, there's a really diverse background. So I'm like, ooh, I want to talk to you. So when I had that opportunity, I'm going to email you. I'm like, I'll see if she wants to do it. So
Yeah.
let's talk about that. How did you get to where you're at in public service? How did you end up becoming the public information officer for Mooresville?
So right before this, I was working in minor league baseball, and I was the director of marketing for the team. It's a Guardians affiliate team, and I was also the game MC. And so just a lot of energy and a lot of crazy hours. And I was leaving a domestic violence situation and becoming a single mom, and realized very quickly that 80 hours a week in baseball was not going to be sustainable. And so I was kind of putting feelers out and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Also, one, I needed balance, but also I wanted a fresh start. And so I wanted to move me and my kids into a new area and just really set us up for a good new life. And so I was looking at the Raleigh area and just reaching out to people and saying, like, can you keep an ear out? I've got a couple people down here, and excuse me, I have a couple of people down here. And so I just really put feelers out. And my high school teacher, English teacher, had hit me back and just said, we moved to this great new town and we really like it here. We've been here a few years. They're actually hiring a PIO, and it's like perfect for you. And I had no idea what a PIO even was. And so when I went and I started kind of Googling, like, okay, what does a PIO do? I was like, oh, these are all the things I've done in 20 different jobs I've had over the course of my lifetime, all in like one package and in a very balanced and like stable environment. And I was like, this is exactly what I've been praying for. Really, just all of the doors really opened at one time as far as getting down here. And when I interviewed, I really went into this interview with like just full transparency of, I have never worked in government. I do not know what the rules are here, and I can learn that. Like, if you can teach me the rules of government, I'll be fine because I have the skill set. I've done it in everything that I've done with sports and nonprofits and running nightclubs and all of these things. I've done all of the things. I just have a new place to like put it all together and use it in one place, which was really cool.
Awesome. All right, so let's talk about the earlier roles that you had. How did that shape the way you communicate today?
I think really with sports, it's funny because I've had multiple positions in sports. So I've been a personal assistant. I've been a coach's assistant. I have done the marketing side and the MC side and the really like coaching athletes on how to be present with media and how to answer questions and that kind of thing. And so it was cool because I started seeing all of those elements really play into this, where like as a personal assistant in sports, one of the things I had to do very often was meet all of the important people that my athlete needed to know or needed to remember who they were, and learn all about those people and know when to pull my athlete away from people or when to say like, hey, this is somebody that you should really talk to. And so there was a lot of kind of behind the scenes coaching of athletes and veteran athletes on, here's how we build really good relationships, and here, let me help you with that. Whereas when I was more on the marketing side, it was here's how you talk to the media and here's how I can prep
Mhm.
you for an interview. And it really was bringing all of those same skills into sitting with a nervous
Local government. Yeah.
firefighter who's just been on a scene and saying, here's what they're probably going to ask you. And even getting to the point of building relationships to with the media to the point where when I have a cameraman that shows up and doesn't have a reporter with him and goes like, well, I'll just ask questions. I can go, I can ask the questions if you want me to. And a lot of times they go,
Right.
oh, okay, because I have that relationship with them and they know that I'm going to ask the questions that they're probably going to ask anyway. And they know that my firefighter is going to be more comfortable answering questions from me on camera than what they are with this stranger. And so it's been really cool to watch like, oh, I did this with athletes and I did this with coaches. And now I get to do the same thing, but in a way more stressful environment and still be a calm place of reason for the people that I'm working with and going like, hey, you've got this and I'm here with you and let's go over this however we can. And if you're nervous, it's okay to say like, hey, I'm nervous and can we start again? Because I know that camera guy and that camera guy is gonna fix that for me, right?
Right. Absolutely. All right. I should have asked this earlier, and I know it's in my question somewhere. Where's Mooresville located in North Carolina, and what's the population?
So Morrisville is let me look up the population really quick because that just left my brain. This is something I would normally know. And since not been
That's
working for
okay.
3 months, there we go. Okay, around 33,000. Um,
Okay.
Morrisville is, Morrisville's in the I'd say it's in the perfect location. If you know anything about Durham, North Carolina, and Raleigh, North
Mhm.
Carolina, and Cary, North Carolina, we are really just like a corner in the middle of all three. And so
Oh, cool.
I am on the Durham line. I am on the Raleigh line by about 10 minutes, and Cary is 5 minutes in the other direction. We are
Wow.
10
So you
square
really
miles.
hit all the different markets too. That's pretty cool.
Yes, it's amazing. And the Raleigh Durham airport is technically in Morrisville. So that
Nice.
helps.
For you
That
when you got
helps
to
too.
travel.
Yes.
All right. So
And the
you have been.
population, oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
And
Go ahead.
population of Morrisville is 33,000. And we are at about, I believe, 46% are Indian Asian.
Okay. It's an interesting mix of community.
It is. It's very
Do you
cool.
have a lot of? Is there a lot of tech there, or is it? What's the drive for that?
Yes. So Research Triangle Park is kind of its own municipality. I don't really know how to explain it, but that is right directly north of Morrisville. And so
Gotcha.
Research Triangle Park is filled with tech and all the STEM.
Okay. We'll talk about the diversity aspect of it a little bit. Let's talk about your activity in the Rotary Club. How has that influenced the way you approach community outreach?
Think Rotary Club and being involved in Freedom School, even before I ever did anything with Rotary, everything. In fact, that's a big reason I got into Rotary. Freedom School is very based in servant leadership. And then Rotary was a continuation of that on kind of a more adult level. Servant leadership is just huge to me in general. And I think that having the heart to know your community and build your community and do whatever is best for your community and the people in it, having that as really the foundation of what you're doing, especially as a PIO or especially if you're working in local government, is huge. Like, there's almost no reason to work for your local government if you cannot have that foundation.
I like that. I like that. All
Thanks.
right. So you have a really broad range of personal interests. And I look at it, you golf, crafts, motorcycles, technology, genealogy. Which of those hobbies help you recharge, and do any of them influence how you see the community or the people that you serve?
Golf helps me not ever take myself too seriously. And if you golf, you understand that.
Yes, golf knows how to humble everybody.
Yes. I am a person who I want to be the best at everything I do. And I started golfing about 4 years ago when I was going through just a really, really hard season and started to realize that the people around me that were my friends that were golfing, the more that they wanted to be the best, the worse they were playing. And I was out there just to have a good time. I just needed to like have a few hours of not being mom and having some stress-free time with a beer on the course. And I really started to kind of internalize that as a philosophy of, and I will say I'm not a person who likes to take myself too seriously in general, but golf really was a big lesson of the the more that you're pushing to pressure yourself into being
Mhm.
the best, the worse you're going to feel about it. Whereas
Yep.
if you can
The more you
enjoy,
concentrate on your swing and where your
yeah,
hand grip is and how far apart your feet are, and if you just go out there to have fun and hit the ball, you're probably going to hit it perfectly while you're
yes,
not thinking about it.
yes. And if you can just enjoy the time and sit back and go, you know what? None of this is that serious. And I had a boss when I worked in baseball that anytime we were kind of like freaking out and getting really stressed out about something, he would go, it's just baseball.
Yeah.
Like, I understand, but it's just baseball.
Yeah.
And so I kind of turned that into my golf mantra was like, it's just golf. It's just golf. And then leading that into, well, it's just life. Like there's going to be stuff that pops up and I need to be able to laugh it off. And I am not always the best at that. I think, and then like the crafting side of it, right, is just another really good stress relief. I've gotten really into art therapy lately, which
Mm,
is
okay.
amazing, and learning how to just spend some time. My kids call it coloring. I'm making good art. My kids call it coloring. But learning how to just spend some time creating something that I'm not making money off of, that nobody needs to see, that's not getting posted. Like we put so much pressure on ourselves to always have output, and
Mhm.
I think art therapy has been really cool for me lately to understand like I can create something and I can be proud of it. And it also doesn't need to be shared with anyone.
Yeah, I agree with you. So I've been producing this podcast for 6 years. That's one podcast a week for 6 years that I have put out, with the exception of a short period of time in the month of December. I stopped between like the 15th and the 5th of January.
Take a break. You earned it.
And
Yeah.
if I don't have something else to do, I do a lot of drawing. I've drawn since I was in high school, and I do a lot of sketches. And my wife says, "You have some really good ones. We should sell these." And I'm like, "Nobody's ever going to see these.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever going to see these because they may look good to them, but they're not good to me." And I just, because sometimes I'll do things in charcoal, sometimes I'll do things in pencil.
But
It
it's
just
very
depends on the mood
vulnerable.
that I'm in.
It
Yes,
really
but
is very vulnerable.
it allows me to just shut my brain off and just do what I'm want to sketch, or the image I'm trying to sketch, and and it kills a good hour or two, and I feel
Hmm.
better about myself for the day.
Yep.
All right, so I want to get back to work here. What does a typical week look like for you as a PIO in a fast growing town?
It is different every day and it is different every week. And I think that that is one of the reasons why I love my job is because there are certain things that are routine, right? I'm putting out a weekly newsletter. I am checking on fire and checking on PD and having those meetings with my chiefs of, hey, what's going on and what do you need this week? So there are definitely small routine things, but a lot of my job right now has been website management because I just launched a new website in October of last year. And that was a year long, very grueling process for someone who, like,
Yes, I
I've
bet.
built websites, but I was building through Squarespace, right? For side clients and that kind
Right.
of thing. Building a government website through a government
Hmm.
type software, completely different. Completely different.
Oh, absolutely.
And a
Yes.
huge,
Yeah,
yeah, a
completely.
very heavy load.
And there's so much to a city website nowadays that you need
Yes.
to have in there, and especially now that you're talking about different demographics and your population change. So we're coming to this. Let's jump into this. The diverse population for you, how did that shape the way you build strategies like for your website and things like that?
Absolutely. So, one of the big things that we always focus on is our language access plan. We have five main languages in our town. So, we've got English, Chinese, Vietnamese, Hindi, and Spanish. And pretty much everything that we create needs to be available in all five languages. And so that was something that as I was getting hired was just starting to get approved and starting to roll out policy and that kind of thing townwide. And so language access as a focus isn't, I think you think like, right, when you build the policy or when you have the new website, like language access is all figured out. And then you start to realize, like, oh, we're going to do this event. Have we printed everything out in every language that we can? Or we're putting out the
Yeah.
budget. How much time does it take to translate a budget into five languages? So like we have a service that we use for translation because we probably can't be trusted to make sure that we're translating correctly. But we use a service to translate, and that's a huge game changer in the way that we are able to really communicate with our community. Another thing that we're working on is trying to figure out one of the kind of bigger issues is when police are pulling someone over or they're going to a house for, let's say, a domestic violence call. If you're having a child translate between the police officer
Hmm.
and a victim, now you're involving a kid in something that they don't need to be involved in, right? And so trying to
Right.
really test out different equipment to figure out what kind of translation services we can use in a traffic stop or in a house call or in an emergency that are not only working, but I think another layer of that, right, that we're finding is your translation service also has to be approved by whatever court system you have. And if your court system is saying this translation service isn't approved, and so you can't use these in court documents if you need them, then what was the point of, not to say that it was all a loss, but if you need to prosecute somebody and then you can't prosecute somebody because
Right.
your translation is not approved, it's causing bigger issues. So there's so
Absolutely.
many things
Yep.
for us to think about with language.
It is crazy to think about how much you have to put into it now, compared to what you used to do. Just even things on social media, just trying to connect to as many communities to as you can, and then where do they go for social media depending on the population that you have. I have a friend that is on the West Coast, and their community is highly Asian descent,
Mhm.
multiple different countries represented there. They use WeChat a lot. Well,
Yes.
how many police departments do you know that are on WeChat? I mean, they are, but because they have to be.
Yes. Yeah. I think there's so much thought that goes into it. And I think that that's been one of our biggest challenges as a really, really diverse and small community, right? Like we're not huge, we're 10 square miles, but the diversity that is within this is really cool and really difficult to figure out at the same time.
Right, right. All right. So, what's worked well for you for reaching groups that may not be plugged into your traditional town channels, like your newsletter, your website, and so on?
I would say that so social media as a baseline, right? Like I don't think that we would be having the reach that we have without social media. The website, of course, as another really big foundational thing, and making sure that our website is able to be translated super easily. I'll say the biggest game changer I think that we've had in the last year, a little bit over a year, is that we started using Rept. And it's a video software platform where I'm able to say a community member sends in a question and says, "Can you tell me about the holy event?" Um, we're able to have someone, I can send that question over to Parks and Rec and they can send in a quick video answer. And then Rept is also able to translate the captions. And so it's a really cool, really easy way for the community to connect to the employees, not just the council members or senior leadership. They're connecting to actual employees that are doing the day to day work. It's translated so everyone in our community can understand what's being said. And also, Rep hosts our chatbot. And so if people are putting any kind of questions into our chatbot, it either connects them to a space on our website or it's connecting them to one of the videos that we have created that's also translated.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. So the chatbot stuff is something that's very new to a lot of websites, a lot of especially local government. And there have been a number recently where the bots have created problems for the municipalities because they've hallucinated things that weren't there.
Yes.
And as a result, it ended up upsetting residents and so on. And the one that I kind of got a laugh out of is Air Canada had a thing where they had their chatbot answering a question about refunds for tickets, and they said, "Oh yeah, you get a full refund," and they don't do full refunds.
Right.
So it ended up going to their highest court, and they said, "Well, now you do." At least in
Oh,
this
dang.
case,
Oh, no. I
yeah.
will say we have an amazing IT department, and everything that we put out with really anything, but especially with the website, IT tests and tests and tests and tests for months before we ever do it. And there were other chatbots that we were looking at using that we just couldn't get them to work the way that they needed to. And every time that they tested them, there was there was something happening. And so it
Oh,
was
I'm
just like,
sure.
okay, well, if this isn't going to work, like we can't sign this contract to use this for years and years. And so I think our IT department really protects us. And not to say, I'm not going to say it's always going to be perfect and that AI is not going to do its own thing because I have my own theories on that. But I do think that like we go through a rigorous process and we have the manpower behind that to try to make sure that we are minimizing the risk as much as possible.
How do you approach building trust with residents who may be new to the area or unfamiliar with like a local municipal government?
I think that so, for some context, Mooresville really over the last 10 years has become what it is right now. When I moved here 3 years ago, everybody that I talked to was like, this was all cows. This was all cows. And now look, it's tech and it's this and it's these apartment buildings going up. And I think that the way that we have grown in the last 10 years and even in the last 3 years since I've been here and the how rapidly that's happening, it is a constant shifting of strategy of what does this mean for our demographic or what does this mean even in ways of not even just diversity in races and not even in diversity of races and ethnicities, right? But in diversity of ages. I think it was probably a
Mm-hmm.
much older demographic when it started growing and it's getting younger and younger and younger. And we're building all these new schools. Like the schools can't keep up. They're getting just over overthrown with students and not there's not enough seats. And so I think there's a lot happening, not just in Morrisville, but in the surrounding communities, right? Where it is just growing faster than any of us can keep up. And so I think one of the ways that we're trying to build trust is making sure we're we're putting dashboards out on our website of like here's our strategic plan. Here's the plan for parks and recreation and cultural resources. Here's the dashboard of all of the information that you could possibly find that you might be looking for.
Hmm.
I think our senior leadership team and our town council have all been very intentional about provide the transparency where we can provide the transparency and people I'm not like a tech girly and I am not a numbers girly. And so that is not my side of things, but I understand that that is very important to a lot of people and numbers have meaning, right? And I think that's been one of the big
Absolutely.
pushes the last couple of years is like put the numbers out so that people are seeing the facts. Because the more you leave your community guessing, the less people are able to make up stories in their head, right? And that's building the trust. Now,
Hmm.
whether people are actually going and looking at the information, that's been my struggle, right? Because you'll have people that show up and say, like, well, I don't know what this is and I can't find this information. And as a communications person, you're thinking, I've put this in 10 different places. How are you still not seeing this? And so that's really been the
It's
challenge for
amazing how people
communications.
people don't read and they have to literally be spoon fed it. And I found like I've actually done videos where I've said, okay, this is where you, and I'll actually walk them through how to get to it, because sometimes that's the only way they can get it is because they're so used to, oh, I'll go to YouTube and find what I need to find. Well,
Yes.
that I'm basically doing the education part of it in a YouTube video.
Well, and that was a big part of the website redesign as well, was making sure. And I think one of the strengths that I had in the redesign was that I don't come from a government background, and all government stuff does not make sense to me still, even working here for 3 years. And I'm able to look at a website and go, this isn't going to make sense for a resident who is just trying to figure out how to get to this one very specific question. If they're having to figure out what department they even have to go to first that would answer that
Hmm.
question. Like, why are we organizing it the way that it is
Yep.
organized? And so going through a user experience kind of mindset and saying, like, we need to reorganize this and make multiple places for people to find, like, lead back to this information, because everybody's brain works differently.
Yep. I agree. 100%. All right. So what community stories or themes seem to resonate most with you residents?
I think because of our population and because we are so diverse, that a lot of our events that are centered around the Indian population are really like huge events around here. And it's not just the Indian population that is getting into it, it is everybody else that's going, oh, this looks amazing. And I want to learn
Hmm.
about this and I want to celebrate this. And so we have events like Holy. We have what I just forgot the name. We have events like Holy. We have the menorah lighting. We have all of these different, really traditional events for different cultures that are being shared all year long. My son's teacher texted me last year and was giggling because she was saying, like, hey, so we were going over Holi and like some of the other like Hindu holidays or yeah, Hindu holidays. And your son said that he celebrates these holidays, and I corrected him and I told him, like, no, you don't celebrate these holidays. And I was like, well, actually, my kids do celebrate these holidays because I work for the town, and so we show up at all of these events. And so to them, it's this is like what our family
It's
does, and
no
this is
different.
traditional for us. And they
Yeah.
don't realize that it's tied to a culture. They just think this is our town and this is our tradition as well, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%. You know what? I see that. I see that in a lot of what I did with my kids when I was a PIO for my department, and I dragged my kids to everything
Yeah.
that they were at. And my kids, everybody in the city knew who my kids were all the time.
Right.
And they were always, I have one friend from my community that sends my kids Christmas presents and birthday presents all the time, just because
That's
they were
awesome.
around from like age two. Yeah, age two to like when I retired 20 something years later. So,
People
yeah,
know my kids are
it's
my
important
kids
to
because
have
they
those
have blue
connections.
hair.
There you go. Well, yeah, but oh boy, red and blue. So that's interesting. Fun.
It's yes.
All right. So you support major town projects and new initiatives. What is your process for keeping the public informed in a clear and steady way?
Oh man. So town center is our big capital improvement project right now. Like that has it's been on the table for probably 20 years at this point. It finally got approved and groundbreaking last year. And we are just going with it. Everything is rolling now. It's a lot of money, and there's a lot of just nervousness from the community. There is a lot of really misunderstanding with the community. And so there has been an intentional effort throughout my time here of making sure that the community understands what town center is. First of all, we didn't have any kind of downtown area, and all of the cities and towns around us have really built up
All did.
their town center areas. And so that was huge for us to even start moving forward on it because it's been in discussion for so long. And we're doing I forgot the name of it. A
Take your time. Take your time.
let me find this word because I don't want to say it wrong. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Take your time. We're all good here. Don't worry.
Okay. Town. I literally make this thing and I type it out all the time. And now I cannot think of what the word is. I was working on it yesterday. It's not on here. I'm just going to skip over that word somehow.
Take your time. No worries.
So with Town Center, there are a ton of stakeholders, right? We're working with contractors, we're working with designers, we're working with people that are going to own these apartment buildings and run these boutiques. And there's just so much that goes into it. And so we have created a capital project template that goes out once a month,
Okay.
and I work with the engineering team and the planning team. And so they just really update this template every month, and that gets shown to council. It's available for the community. It's on the website, of course. That's been a big part of it. And then working with the director of engineering to make not only monthly updates in our weekly newsletter, but also making monthly video updates so that because not everybody reads it and retains it. And so also having a video is really good because not only do they feel like they're connecting with a guy that's heading this project up, but they're getting the information from his mouth in a very like human to human way, right? And not just like, here's all the government
Right.
jargon that you don't understand what's going on. And so that has really taken up a lot of my day lately is anything having
Hmm.
to do with town center, anything getting out that kind of information and making sure that because we're a small community, if a road closes, that's a big deal, right? Our community wants to know
Right.
because there's not that many roads in 10 square miles. And so to make
Right.
sure we're always ahead of the curve and letting them know this is going to happen before it happens.
Right. All right. So let's talk about this. Earlier this year, your office responded to a public concern during a federal operation in town. How did you approach that situation and what guided your messaging?
Uh, let's see. Give me a second. Yeah, so with everything going on with ICE lately, there has always kind of been the idea of, okay, this could happen here and we need to be looking out for it and we need to be prepared. I will say, luckily, I did FBI LIDA's NPR course a month or two
Hmm.
before this incident. And I will say it made me look at it from a completely different, or made me look at it in a completely more prepared mindset versus feeling like I have no idea what I'm doing here and how to handle this. And so basically, there was a traffic incident, and I got called in because they were saying, hey, it went out over dispatch that some of the people in this traffic accident were masked agents. And so, if it goes out over dispatch, then now the media is calling and now the public has heard it. And so their worry
Right.
was, we have a feeling people are going to start showing up to this. Can you show up and handle the scene? And of course I can. That's my job. So I really
Yeah.
sat for a minute while I didn't sit. I was getting dressed very quickly. I had my kids were home sick that day and I was just like, all right, we're going to figure this out and I need to go to work. So I was getting dressed and going through my head of who do I think is going to show up at this scene? Who's my most aggressive reporter that is going to be on shift today? If this is something that is politically charged, what protesters do I think are going to be there? Like what organizations? And then
Right.
who can I, who do I have relationships with, or who can I find contact information for that I can proactively reach out to? And so that's what I did. I called all of the
Right.
reporters or well, and producers that I could think of that are kind of the more aggressive ones with us. And then I thought of two organizations that I knew had been watching everything that was happening and were pretty engaged organizations. And I reached out to all of them and said, listen, I know you've probably gotten wind of this. I want you to know I'm heading to the scene now. I have no information on what's going on, but I promise when I have information that I can give you, I will give you that information. What I need right now is for you to not send people because I need to figure out what's happening and I don't want anything to happen with anybody. And I was 2 years in at that point and had built some really good relationships. And I got there, media never showed up. We had the people that were there
That's awesome.
that were taking video were all people that had seen this happen, right? And had decided like, okay, we're going to stand here and we're going to videotape this entire thing. But media never showed up. Protesters never showed up. The organizations that I had reached out to waited for me to call. And I kept my word. And as soon as I had something that I was able to tell them and I was cleared to give information to people, I was able to call and say, this is what I can give you. And everyone respected it. And I walked away from that day just like that could not have gone any better from like a PIO perspective, right? Like,
Right. Right. Right.
and thank goodness, one, that I had those relationships, but also thank goodness, too, that I had Sarah Connolly teaching me in FBI LEDA saying, you need to think of everyone that is going to be interested in this and who might show up to the scene, because I was able to really think through that while I was like rushing to get dressed and then look up numbers really quick
Right.
and call these people and just say like, I need you to trust me in this and I need you to not show up because I don't know what's happening. And it could be nothing, right? So don't waste your time.
Right.
I'll let
Right.
you know. I'll let you know if you should show up.
Outstanding. So, what is the lesson about public communication that you think every PIO should take to heart?
Ooh, I think
What is one lesson?
well-timed sass will get you far. I think you need to
Okay.
learn when to be sassy in a funny way. I think you need to learn when to be sassy in an
Mm-hmm.
advocating way. I think you need to learn when to be sassy in a I'm standing up for myself or somebody else kind of way. And like this is my Dolly Parton lesson, right? Like this is why I love Dolly Parton is because I think that she has always handled herself so well because she knows the different levels of sass and when to release them, right? And it never
Mm-hmm.
comes off as aggressive. It never comes off as really like brushing someone off. Like it's always very well received. If you watch her interview, I have studied her interviews probably my entire life because I'm a little obsessed. But I really do think like it all comes down to really having like a sense of humor and knowing how and when to use it in a way that kind of knocks people off their balance a little bit for a moment.
I like that. I like that.
Thanks.
Rox, is there a question I should have asked? And if so, how would you have answered it?
Uh, ooh,
Not sure, huh?
I I know one that I think I
Go
could
ahead.
be wrong. I looked through your podcast and I didn't see much that was talking about like single moms in this career field. And I think that that's been like a huge adjustment for me of like figuring out how to be a PIO as a single mom.
Right.
So if
Okay.
you asked,
All right, let's switch this up to some rapid fire questions,
oh,
okay?
okay,
All right, here we go. Texting or talking?
talking. Do you want me to elaborate
Movies or
on these
books?
after? Okay. I was like, wait, movies.
No, wait, just answer them real quick, whichever one you
Okay.
prefer, movies or books.
Movies.
Coffee, tea, or energy drink?
Sweet tea.
If you could adopt any animal, real or mythical, what would it be?
A jellyfish.
Play it safe or roll the dice. What's your instinct at a crisis?
I'm a roll the dice girly.
Adult drink of choice.
Tequila.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
What's your favorite go-to karaoke song?
It's Enough Crying by Mary J. Blige. I think it's Mary J. Blige.
Oh, okay. If you could have a superpower, which one would it be?
I would want to be able to teleport.
What's your comfort zone activity, the thing that resets your brain?
Watching the 9 to 5 movie.
If you could instantly become an expert in one thing, what would it be?
Oh, languages. I would want to be able to speak like every language.
Okay. What place would you most want to travel to?
Spain.
And I think I know this one. Who would you choose to have coffee with? Any historical figure?
Dolly Parton.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Final thoughts, Rox. What key points would you like our listeners to take from today's interview?
I think show up as yourself. Use your skills from your life and your expertise from your life to be really good at your job. And don't be afraid to risks.
I like that. As we wrap this up, is there a motto or piece of wisdom you live by?
Lately, I've been going by the Babe Ruth quote of can't beat someone who never quits.
I like that. How can people best reach you if they want to connect or follow up on anything they heard today?
You can find me at Instagram at Plot Twist Off Script, all spelled out. And then I'm on LinkedIn as Rox Cruz, Roxcruz.
And I will add all that in the show notes. Rox, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much. I had so much fun.